For our next object, let's create this speedometer piece right here. I think it's got some interesting things in it, and it actually might be a little difficult. Let's zoom into this with Control Spacebar. And there's a good bit of this that I'm not going to really bother with. These little indentations here and here that don't really seem to serve a particular purpose. I don't know that I'm really going to work too hard to try and get those. I think just working on the general shape of this is going to be difficult enough. So I think let's try and keep it relatively simple. Having said that, I think it still provides quite a bit of challenge. Looking at this, you might think, well, maybe I could begin with a cylinder here and extrude down and then extrude forward like this. But I think one of the biggest problems for this is how it kind of molds to the gas tank. This particular triangular shape and the molding to the gas tank, I think are two fairly difficult issues to deal with. And for something like this, I usually like to try and deal with the hardest thing first in an object. So my guess is that this shape here is going to be the hardest part of it rather than the cylinder. So I think I want to begin there. But let me first place at least a temporary object for these gas caps on the tank, because it does look like it bends around these, and I just want to put these in place so we kind of know our boundaries here. It kind of looks like, well, let me just tab into edit mode here. Maybe let's select a point here and press Shift S2 and move the cursor. It came in over here since we have a subdivision surface modifier on this, but let's press Shift A, Mesh, and Cylinder. And I'll just put this at 24, let's say, and I'm going to bring this down to 0.1 and 0.2, or 0.1 and 0.1. I'll change this to a triangle fan, but honestly, I'm not even sure if this is really going to be the final object. So let's just see what we can do with this. I'm going to press Shift Z and press the G key and move this into here, let's say, and maybe scale it in the Z. And I'm still in local transformation mode, so when I turn it, the transformation axes should come along. So I'm going to press RY here to tilt that a bit. I'll press Shift Z. Let's press RY again and maybe like this. And now I just bring it in the Z axis till we kind of intersect with it here. And maybe something like that. Let's just see how that works. We could, if we wanted to, go ahead and just move the cursor to the center of the grid, move the origin to the 3D cursor, and then mirror this over here with our mirror modifier. It's way over here, which means we've got a problem with the rotation. So let's press Control A and apply the rotation, and there it is there. All right, so we know now that our speedometer has to come between these. So I think let's begin with a circle. I'm just going to press Shift S2 to bring the cursor here, and then Shift A, Mesh, Circle. Now here it is here. Let's scale it down quite a bit. And I'll go to the side view, and let's get it generally in the right shape and in the right position here. Just going to continue to scale it down a bit and move it so it's about like this. It looks like it comes to right here, right? All right, so there we've got the general length of the object. I'm also going to press SX and scale in the X a bit here, like this. And then I think I want to mirror this over. I want to tab into edit mode, and if I go to the top view, I just want to remove this side over here. So maybe I'll just click and drag and select these and delete vertices. Then we can come over here and add a mirror modifier, turn on clipping, turn on the cage, and there we go. So now we can see it there. And the next thing I want to do is actually shrink wrap it to the gas tank. Since we've got it kind of molding to the tank here, I think we can use our shrink wrap modifier for this. So let's take this and let's add a shrink wrap to it here. Let me pull this up a bit. There we go. For the target, I'll click in here and type in gas tank, and let's just select that one. And now you can see it's snapped down to the gas tank. Now we can turn on the cage here, and that'll snap the vertices down there. And so there we go. Now we've got it snapped to the gas tank. And we can then come in here and just begin hitting G and moving these around, because since they're snapped to the gas tank, they aren't going to lift up in the Z-axis or anything. So we can just move them around like this. And then it looks like these come out about like this. And I could maybe delete. Oh, we could probably delete these in here. Let's try that. I'll just delete vertices. And then these would probably maybe come out a bit like this. Now the next thing I want to do is get this cylindrical piece back here. So what let's do is create another circle, and we'll use that to create that piece back here. So let's press Shift A, Mesh, Circle here. Let's scale it down quite a bit with the S key here, and I'll go to the side view and let's scale it down, and I'm going to hit G and move it, hit R and turn it. So we want to kind of scale it down so it fits. Let's see if we can get it to fit right in here. Maybe something like that, right? So that's the top of that. Let's also bring it down here. Let's duplicate it, Shift D, Z, and bring it down like this. So we have it right down here, like that. And then we want to delete all the parts that are under here that we're not seeing, right, underneath the gas tank. So what I'll do is I'll just select this and control click this and control click here and here, right? So we just have these selected. So now what let's do is invert the selection with Control I, or you can come up here to select and invert here. So I'll press Control I and then delete and delete vertices. Okay, now we've got the basic outline of that cylinder. And actually, if I'm going to join it with this shrink wrapped piece, I don't need this side because it's mirrored over. But before I join them together, I think what I want to do is actually apply the shrink wrap modifier. And I think I'll offset it just a bit. I want to click and drag in here. And as I do, you can see it kind of brings it up out of the mesh. And I want it just to come up out of the mesh just a little bit. You can see how it's kind of up off the gas tank here. And maybe I'll bring it up like this, something like that. And then we can apply this now. But since it isn't at the top of the modifier stack, we might get a problem if we applied it here. So what I'm going to do is just take this and remove the mirror, and then apply the shrink wrap, and then add another mirror like this, and turn on clipping and turn on the cage. And so we have it now so it isn't shrink wrapped, but it is mirrored over. All right, so let's now take this piece here. Let's tab back into edit mode, and I think I will just select half of this side and delete these vertices here, so that when I take this piece and then select this piece and join them together, Control J, it now takes on the modifiers of the last one we selected and adds a mirror here. All right, so we've got that. Let's tab into edit mode. Now we can just take this and merge these together at the last one selected. So I'll press the M key and choose to merge at last. And there we go. All right, so now we've got the basic outline of this piece. And from here, we're just going to use extrude and fill and bridge edge loops to kind of create all of this in here. The one other thing I'd like to do is to add this circle right here. And I think we just need to add yet another circle. And I'll just maybe select this and move the cursor to it, and then press Shift A, Mesh, Circle. But this time, I think we only need about half of the vertices here. So I'm just going to take this down to 16 and then shrink it down and put it in place right here. So let's just hit G and move this up here, turn it, shrink it down a bit. So we have something about like this, let's say. All right. So now we've got our 3 main shapes for this piece. And as I said, now it's just a matter of going through and filling in the polygons. So in the next video, we'll begin doing that.